All right, good Monday or Tuesday to you. We are going to begin solving percent problems using proportions today. We are beginning the new unit, Unit 6. So if you were able to pick up a notes packet, you're going to want to have that out. Or spiral notebook or notebook paper will be fine. You'll definitely want a calculator. You will want something to write with, pencil preferably. You guys will have an assignment today. If you're in Mr. Baker's class, my class, you will kind of take your notes through this. So if you need to pause to slow down, do that. If you're taking it on notebook paper, make sure you write out the original question and then show your work as we solve these with proportions. Then you're going to do a big ideas assignment for homework. Remembering, we'll talk about that, but you'll need to get a 70% or better in order to get full credit, where you can check your answers as many times as you want. And then you will also begin your 5 IXL skills for the week once again. We're starting that back up, so which will be due on Sunday. So if you have free time, if you finish your assignment, I would recommend that you get started. So our title for this lesson is from chapter 6 in our textbook, and it is percent proportion notes. So this is chapter 6, lesson 2 in your textbook, Big Ideas. So if you are doing this on notebook paper, head your paper with that. All right, so we're going to be setting up a proportion, and this is how our proportions are going to be set up each and every time. So you're going to fill in those boxes, and we have the is, and the is stands for the amount or the part. The of stands for our whole. All fractions are a part out of a whole, and apparently we are missing the equal sign in the middle because this is a proportion. The percent is always out of 100, so we're going to change the percent to its fraction form, and we're going to put it over 100. 100 is always going to go here on the bottom right, or sometimes some teachers will have it on the left-hand side, but regardless, your percent always is above the 100. Now, we're probably not going to use this very often, but there's another way to write this, and we're going to use variables. And so if we were going to solve an equation, we would be using A for the amount, okay? And we're going to get into that potentially, but in some years we use the percent, or we use percent proportion or the percent equation. In this case, we're going to be focusing on the percent proportion. But A is the amount. We sometimes, instead of thinking of the of, we use W. And for our whole, and P is our percent, and obviously it's 100. So down here. All right, so what we're going to use, we're going to follow this proportion, and I like to highlight, I like to box in, I like to use different colors potentially, but we're going to start out and we're going to set up a proportion every time. So you want to get set up, and we said that 100 always goes in the bottom right. We have kind of these steps to kind of help you, and it says identify the is. So it says what number is. Well, it said what number. That's a question mark. We're not sure what number is. Now remember, the is our A, the of is our W, and the P is the percent up here. Now, this is the easiest thing to see. This is our percent. So this is our P, and so that always goes above the 100. So we're going to put that there. And then it says of 377. So the of is our whole. And so it's asking what percent is equal to 39% of this whole. And of, since we see the word of, that tells me it's going to go on the bottom of my proportion. And so we're going to put the 377 on the bottom. And in this case, we're missing our is, which is our A. So you can use X. It doesn't matter. I'm going to get you guys in the habit of at least seeing those letters, particular letters. But you can use X on every one of these. So this becomes 100A equals, and this is why having a calculator is so important. So I'm going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take me a little bit of time because I'm actually typing it in. So it's going to, and we get 14,703. Now we're going to divide by 100. And if we divide by 100, we get 1,047 and 3/100ths, okay? And so you need to realize it's not always going to work out to be some pretty beautiful number. And so I want you to see you're using a calculator, so it can be any part of this, all right? Or it can be a decimal. All right, as we look at this next one, we're going to go through lots of examples today, so I'm going to try to pick up the pace a little bit but as we get going. So this time we're going to be missing the whole, and you're going to see it says 60%. Okay, 100 always goes down here. Percent's always going. There's our P for percent. 60 out of 100 is what our percent is. Of what number? Well, that's our missing. Is equal to 27. Well, is my part or my A, because it goes is up on top and of is on the bottom. And so I have the is this time. So what we're missing this time is the of, which is our whole, which is the W. Okay, so we're missing the whole. Once again, I don't really care if you use X or not, or W, doesn't really matter. So you're going to go ahead and multiply, and you get 2,700 when you go this direction, and we're going to get 60W. I'm going to divide both sides by 60. Remember, anytime we're dealing with proportions, we're going to multiply, then we're going to divide second. So we have 2,700 divided by 60, and that gives us 45. And so we go back and we look, and so basically you plug that back in. 60% of 45 would be equal to 27. As we look at the next question now, this time we're missing the percent, as it says up here. And we're going to go ahead and get our proportion ready to go. We put a 100 down here on the bottom. Every one of your questions, for the most part, is going to have, unless it's review from what we did on Thursday and Friday, will be a proportion. So I want to see this in your work today. What percent, so we're missing the percent, that's our P, of 325 is 65. So this is of is our W, there's our of, and so we have 325 as the whole. It's not always the big number on bottom. Sometimes we can have a percent greater than 100, and you might have the big number up on top, is equal to 65. And so we're missing the percent this time. So I'm going to go ahead and build my castle wall, and we're going to do our cross products here. And we have 6,500 times 100 is 6,000, or 65 times 100 is 6,500. 325 times P, we're going to divide both sides by 325. And I'm going to type that in. And we're going to get 20. And now in this case, this one's important that you remember to label your answer. So this is 20% this time. So 20% of 325 is 65. And now we continue, and this time we're not sure what we're missing. Up at the top, it's got a blank there, and so we're going to see, what are we missing? Well, it says, so once again, we're going to go ahead and put 100 down here on the bottom, and it says 140 is. Well, there's that connection to the is. What percent of the 224? So this time we are missing the percent, and that's our P. So we're missing percent. The 140 is, that's my A then, that's the part. Of is my whole, which is the 224. Now we can go ahead and set up our proportion and begin our cross products. So this is 224P in this direction, and we have 140 times 100 would be, what do we got, 14,000. And we're going to divide both sides by 224 to figure out our percent. So 14,000 divided by 224 gives us 62.5. And once again, don't forget to label percent. Since we have a lot of time in class today, we're going to do a bunch of examples. So once again, pause if you need to. But we want to get you into the habit of this, get used to it. So flip over. You don't have what's on the right on your paper, but it's the same process. That's the idea. And so it says what? Now notice, this time we have a percent greater than 100, so our answer is going to look a little bit different, or it might kind of throw you a little bit. And so in this case, it says what number is? Oh, there's that is, so we're missing A. There's your percent, easy to find, and then of 80. So what is 120% of 80? Well, 120% is going to go here. Of is the bottom, okay? That's our W. That's on the bottom, and we're missing A this time. Now, what you're going to notice is when you do over 100% of something, your answer is going to be greater than what it started as. And so we go ahead and we do 120 times 18, or times 80, and that gives you 9,600, and you're going to divide by 100, and A is going to equal 96. Now, if you go ahead and plug that back into the ratio, now it's saying, wait, I got something bigger than I started with. I started with 80, now I have 96. Well, it makes sense because you went over 100%. 100% of 80 would be 80. So 120% is going to be 20% higher than what you started as, which is, in this case, 96. All right, next question, number 6. Once again, we're going to get our proportion set up, ready to go. And we have 35%, there's our P, of what number, there's that of, is 35. So this is my A, and this time we're missing the of, the W. And so we're going to put the 35 above the percent, or above the 100, and we're going to have 35 as our A. And if you have some number sense in this case, some of you will go ahead and do your cross products, but notice these two are exactly the same. So what you should notice is these two are going to be exactly the same. But in case you don't recognize that, you would go ahead and do this because it's going to work 100% of the time. It will work. And you're going to end up going like this. And you're going to divide both sides by 35. And you're going to get W equals 100. So 35% of a number that will equal 35 has to be 100. So, all right, so that one was pretty easy once you had it set up. All right, so now story problem. This one's kind of using, using a graphic here, and it says, I lost the top here. Hold on. Whoa, did not mean to do that. Let's see here. We're going to discard that. We're going to go back into here. All right, so it says, the circle graph shows the number of votes received by a candidate during a school election. Find the percent of students who voted for the indicated candidate. So in this case, we're trying to figure out how many students voted for, candidate B. And so in this case, candidate B is right there. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to try to figure out what percent. It tells us to find what percent, which means I'm missing the percent. Now, this is the part out of the whole. And a percent is always out of 100. Well, in this case, the part that voted for B, so this is the part that voted for B, would be 60. Now, the whole, in this case, what you'd have to recognize is the whole would be all three of those together, the whole circle. And so that would be 60 plus the 54 that voted for candidate A, plus the 36 that voted for candidate C. And so if we add those up, that's 11, 12, and 150. So this is going to be 150. You had to add to get to that total. And now we can go ahead and do our cross products. And we get 6,000 here equals 150p. I'm going to divide both sides by 150. And the percent, therefore, would be 6,000 divided by 150. And you get 40% of the people voted for candidate B in this case. All right, and last two, real quick, we're going to deal with a couple of other, just other examples. One having a decimal involved, a little bit more. So in this case, we have 20% of what number is, or 20% of 150 is what number? And so in this case, this is my percent, which is 20, so that goes above. Of is 150, so that's going to go on the bottom. Now, I want to remind you, notice on this slide, we don't have the little helpful reminder. So what I would recommend you do is you write is over of equals the percent out of 100. You can write that somewhere to remind you that's what you're looking for. And this time we're missing our is, which is our A. And so we're going to go ahead and set up our cross products. And we have 100 times A. And in this case, 15 times 3, or 2 is 30. And then I'm going to bring my two zeros over. I'm going to divide both sides by 100. And that would therefore give me, I could just cross these off, and it's going to give me 30. All right, and then this final example here, before we get going, we're going to put 100 here. And this time, some of you guys freak out a little bit. You have a decimal percent. So we're going to write that just as 0.8%. It's less than 1%. Of is 150. So once again, same type of question as the last one. But you can see what happens since you have a percent less than 1. And we're missing our is, which is our a. So this time we're going to go ahead and do our cross products, and we have 100 a. You're going to go ahead and do 150, and you get to use your wonderful calculator. This is why you guys should have one handy at all times this semester. And you get 120, and then you're going to divide both sides by 100, and that's going to give me a equals 1 2/10 for our answer. All right, so this kind of concludes it. We did lots of examples, so once you get the hang of it, it's actually rather easy. So I want to remind you, I apparently forgot that we had one other question, sorry. So this one, it says your school raised 125% of its fundraising goal. The school raised $6,750. What was the goal? All right, so let's start here. We're going to go 100 here, and this is 125%. Okay, now this is the percent raised. Now, when you're dealing with story problems, I think it's really important that you guys put your label here on your percent. So if this is the percent raised, this top number is our A or our amount, okay, or our part. Okay, so this would be part or the amount. So let's take this word that our percent stood for. This was the percent raised, so this becomes the amount. Okay, amount or part that you raised. So when I look at this, 6,750 is the amount that you raised. So therefore, that's going up on top. That was not the whole. We are missing the whole goal. Okay, we don't know what the goal was. We know the part that you received of the goal. And so we got more than what we expected. That's what is kind of cool about this fundraiser, I guess. You got more than expected, so you'd have your 675 with the 0, and then you're going to add 2 zeros behind it. You're going to divide both sides by 125, and you have $5,400 was the goal. Now, this is where if you accidentally put the 6,750 on the bottom, you would get an answer that is smaller than 6,700, and then your answer wouldn't make sense because then your goal, or the amount, your goal was bigger than what you raised, and in this case, you raised 125%, which means you raised more than what was expected, okay? So your answer makes sense. If your goal was 5,400, you went over 100% of that, so you should have made more money than 5,400, which 6,750 is. All right, so now we're done with the assignment, and here it is. It is a big ideas assignment, so I want to remind you, you access big ideas through Clever. You need to find the actual assignment link, click on that assignment. You need to show your work on notebook paper, and you need to make sure you title your assignment. Make sure you number each and every question, and you show your proportions on all of these percent questions that we just did. Yes, you are using a calculator, but you must show your work, all right, just as we did. So everything I just showed you in these examples, that's what I expect of you. Check your answers as you go, reminding you that you can check them as many times as you want, 70% or better to receive full credit. And when you finish, make sure you submit the picture of your work page, but also submit a picture of your score. We're back to doing 5 IXL skills this week. These are going to be due on Sunday, so I would say if you finish your homework, then I would jump into this right away and start knocking them out. You have 2 that are found in the 7th grade, L1 and L3, and then you have 3 that are found in 6th grade, but they're all listed under your recommended skills. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or touch base with me at any time. All right, I hope you have a wonderful day, and that's